Good evening, very warm welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. I'm Chris Bell, did I say, joined as ever by our Bradford City man, Gareth Walker. A little bit later on, we'll be chatting to Jayson Boocker, who is going to join us at half-time of the Everton versus Leeds game that is 15 minutes in and currently goalless at the moment. Gaz, first things first, how are you, mate? Are you well?
Nah, not so bad, Chris. Yeah, getting on with life, It's weird. There's only two of us tonight. Used to be a round table on a Monday where there could be up to like 6 or 7 of us, and it seems to, it's just two of us tonight for various reasons. But we'll crack on, won't we, mate?
We will indeed, yeah. Been on the ground, but we'll do the best we can to kind of get around the region's kind of action and discuss all the talking points from the weekend. We'll start with a bit of a look at the non-league scene. I've got all my graphics prepared apart from, and I'm sorry, Halifax fans, the Halifax graphics, but they did get a good win on the road at the weekend. They won 3-2 down at Eastleigh, which is Southampton way. A good win for them, which puts them still just outside the playoff places. Bear with me 1 second. I will get there in an event eventually. National League. Yes, they are. In fact, they've sneaked in ahead of Southend into 7th place in the National League table. So far, things are going pretty well for Adam Lakeland's side. They've had a little bit of a stop-start season, I think it's fair to say. We'll turn our attention then further down the pyramid. So, in the Northern Premier League, Guiseley, they got a 1-1 draw at home against Stockton Town at the weekend. Of course, it was Stockton that they played in the playoff semi-finals of last season's playoffs, only for Stockton to then be playing an ineligible player and for them to then get kind of kicked out and guys are reinstated, only for guys to then lose in the final to Worksop. But yes, a 1-1 draw for them, and Ian Richards' side is currently sitting nicely in mid-table at the moment. As for the MPL East, a very busy league, of course, lots of sides from our region in the Northern Premier League East. Brighouse Town, they got a 1-1 draw on the road at Bishop Auckland. Bradford Park Avenue, they had to settle for a point against Bridlington Town at home in their game. Emily got a 3-1 win on the road up in County Durham at Concert. Garforth beat one of the playoff chasing sides, North Ferriby, by a 1-0. Pontefract Collieries, they also won on the road with a 1-0 win away at Heaton Stennington up in the northeast. Ossett were beaten by another northeastern side, 2-1 to Newton Aycliffe. And then Silsden, they got a massive win over Ashington, not just in scoreline, but in importance as well. A 4-1 win for Matt Kavanagh's side on that one. And the league table is as follows. As you can see, Emily just continuing to just keep rolling on, really, as they sit third in those playoff places. Bradford Park Avenue currently occupying that final playoff place on 46 points ahead of Pontefract Collieries. Garforth currently sitting in 9th. Ossett in 14th. Silsden, as I say, a big win for them over Ashington. Two sides that were kind of scrapping out above the bottom 4 in the relegation places, and a big win for Silsden that moves them 4 points clear of that bottom 4. And Brighouse Town currently sitting in 17th. I know that Brighouse next have to make the journey to Emley. In the Northern Counties East League, busy weekend across our region, as always. As you can see, Albion Sports, they got a 4-2 win in a West Yorkshire derby over Tadcaster Albion. Eccles Hill United were beaten by a 0-0 against Beverley Town, a last-minute winner for the visitors in that one. Campion won on the road with a good win for them away at Frickley Athletic. Horbury were beaten 2-1 at home by Pickering Town. Golk were beaten on the road at Knaresborough Town by 4-1. And in the game just at the bottom there, Thackley. Basically, Thackley met Liversidge, who is primarily the Thackley squad of last season, managed by the last season's Thackley manager, Danny Forrest, of course. And Liversidge, top of the table as well, as they remain to be, despite that good win for Thackley on Saturday. As for the table, whilst I've not got the graphic up for that one, Liversidge, as I say, currently top of the league ahead of Beverley Town. Then Sheffield, Handsworth and Barton Town make up the playoff places. Tadcaster Albion sixth in the league. Campion, of course, based in Manningham in Bradford, sits 7th. Thackley are up to 10th. Eccles Hill down in 15th. Albion Sports 16th. Aubrey 17th, Golka 18th, all 4 of those occupying the final 4 places above the bottom 2 that's currently occupied by Rossington Main and Wombwell Town. Into Division 1 of the Northern Counties East League, as you can see, Leeds UFCA, they got a 2-2 draw away at Brigg Town. Glasshouse and Welfare were beaten on the road at Louth by 4-1. Ilkley had a 0-0 draw with Wakefield side Nostell Miners Welfare as well. So in the NCL Division 1, Durning District lead the way. Wakefield currently sitting second. Leeds UFCA just outside those playoff places. Worsborough, Harrogate Railway and Brigg, the other 3 sides along with Wakefield that make up those playoff places. Route 1 Rovers currently sitting 11th. South Leeds currently 16th, Ilkley Town in 17th, and unfortunately the bottom 2 in that division, Glasshouse and Welfare with just 9 points from 29 games, and above them Nostell Miners Welfare 23 points from 29 games. They are 3 points from safety. Atherley Recreation on 26 of the side that they are aiming to check down. I think, Gaz, that's everything from the non-league scene across our region from the weekend. I'm fully conscious that we just didn't end up getting through the non-league stuff last week, with obviously a lot of talk on Huddersfield Town and the management situation, a lot of talk on Bradford, obviously looking at recent results and building up for the weekend. Let's turn our attention then to the game at the weekend. Where do you want to start? I mean, let's look at this from a Bradford City perspective, and it just was not a good day to be a Bantam, certainly performance-wise on the pitch.
No, I didn't go to the game. As I said last week, I don't have enough points these days to get in to the top tier of away tickets. So I watched it on TV at home. I know Downsy went. We spoke after the game. He's been quite gracious, actually, which I think I was in the reverse game earlier in the season. You know, what goes around comes around. So I didn't dish it out. I had a feeling that it'd come back and bite as if we did, and it certainly did on Saturday. And to those that have been dishing it out for the last few months, it's Huddersfield's turn to dish it out now. I thought that from what I saw on the telly and from what people said who were there, it's probably City's worst performance of the season, Chris. They were just really, really bad from start to finish. They weren't in the game at all until the sending off, and even when the sending off happened, they didn't do anywhere near enough to come back into the game. So it was just a really, really disappointing day from a Bradford City point of view. Obviously, I know Downsy's buzzing. I think Town saw what they needed to see from what you know they'd had so far this season, and how depressed and down they'd been. They were desperate to see a bounce with the new manager, and they got that in abundance, and they'll be looking to hoping that carries on for the rest of the season, because they can't obviously carry on how they were before, and we need to bounce back, because that's 2 defeats on the bounce for us now. I think it's the first time we've lost back-to-back league games since March, so we need to try and turn it around quickly.
Yeah, I mean, touching on it from a Huddersfield perspective for a moment, I suppose, as we kind of said last week, it was one of those going to it where, obviously, from Liam Manning's perspective, he was kind of going to be helped by the fact that the atmosphere, no matter what, was going to be there from Huddersfield fans. It was going to be a boisterous atmosphere, regardless of who was in the dugout, really, you would expect. And he obviously was able to make the most of that. I mean, look, I've seen some Town fans, to be fair. I mean, I know Downsy said that they played well, but I've seen some other Town fans say that, you know what, actually they weren't. They were obviously better than Bradford on the day, but actually overall it wasn't necessarily what you class as a top-class Town performance either. It was just one of those where the atmosphere, the cacophony of noise, everything came together for Town on that day, including obviously that new man in the helm for that kind of that bounce for Liam Manning.
Yeah, I think that was always going to be the case. That's what we were saying last week. City didn't kind of know what to expect in terms of team lineup from Town, but we knew what we were going to get in regards of the bounce that the new manager appointment was going to give. It's a bit of a masterstroke, really, putting a new manager in then ahead of the derby, because, like you say, it helps to sort of bring a cacophony of noise to the place. I think, like I said last week, I wasn't bothered about going there at all before they sacked the manager. I really wasn't. I didn't think there's anything. I think it could have got quite toxic quite quickly under Grant. But obviously, it gave the whole place a lift. I've seen Town fans saying that obviously they've not had an atmosphere like that for a long time, and that shows you how bad they've been not just this season, but for the last couple of years, obviously. And they needed that bounce, and I think it was a perfect game for them for Manning to come in and give them that, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at a couple of the comments. Unsurprisingly, gals, Ben is at it left, right, and centre in the comments as always. You're lucky, Ben. Gaz is here tonight. Yes. 72 Cheesy says, "Evening, guys." 32 Cheesy also says, "You're all right, you are, Gaz, even though you're a choked chicken." There's going to be a lot of terrible, terrible jokes at Bradford's expense, I suspect, over the course of the programme. Yorkshire Man says, "Thanks to the stream, lads. Have to say the Huddersfield v Bradford game was like going back to the 90s. A great atmosphere around the town, and the ground was a real throwback game." More comments from Ben. Something from Jed. What 7 days for town fans? Doom and gloom last week. Now we're talking about automatic. Let's not get carried away now, Jed. You know, mind the gap, sunshine. What else have we got? Ben says, "If anyone says it wasn't our best performance of the season, they're wrong. Our best and their worst, which is a bit lucky we'll take it. Given the big leagues now, they'll probably do us at some point." Yeah, in the playoffs, actually. Yeah, Ben says that. I mean, we have kind of joked over the course of the season, actually, Gaz. And I know Jay has taken a lot of delight in this. Is from the Leeds perspective of, can you imagine if Town and City ended up facing off in the playoffs come the end of the season?
Yeah, we talked about it last week, didn't we? We talked about the record in the playoffs. I mean, what Ben says there, like, he's right. That's why I was very reserved earlier in the season when we beat them 3-1, because you dish it out, you've got to be prepared to take it back. But the thing is, like, if he was to go in the playoffs, as we spoke about last week, City, we talked about City, Town, and Lincoln, didn't we? Possibly ended up in the playoffs. There's only one way that's going, given the three teams' playoff records. Huddersfield have a really good record in the playoffs compared to both City and Lincoln. I think City are a bit middling, Lincoln's is awful, and Towns is really good. So if it was to end up in the playoffs, I'd be dreading it almost as much as I was dreading the new manager bounce. Well, more than I was dreading the new manager bounce on Saturday.
I reckon you could put Lincoln, Bradford, and Huddersfield in the playoffs, and Bolton will stand up being the winners.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I think from what Downsy said and from what I know, Huddersfield record is really good. I don't know what Bolton's is like, but yeah, we've got me and you have got no chance if we all end up in the playoffs, mate.
Yeah, Christ now. James, a Town fan, says Town were finally up for a game. Some key changes work, but it's good to have the derby back. Jed, McGain, that's a reference to Marcus McGuane, of course, who was instrumental for both the good and the bad, I guess, for Huddersfield on the weekend, putting a great performance, but obviously then ended up getting himself sent off. And usually you look at a derby game with Huddersfield dropping down to 10 men as being a potential turning point for Bradford, as Leeds have just taken the lead, by the way, away at Everton. A red card for Town, you would kind of think could and probably should have been a bit of a turning point for City. But from all accounts, even when Town went down to 10 men, it just didn't come together for Graham Alexander's side.
No, I said that in my match review, Chris. We looked really, really toothless and blunt and out of ideas going forward, particularly in the final third. I think it's been coming for a while. There's been City fans. We spoke before it went live. I want to talk about the transfer window because it's a big talking point regarding City at the moment, and I'm sure we'll come on to that shortly, Chris. But particularly in forward areas, City just look, like I said, clueless and a little bit out of ideas at the moment. It wasn't just the Huddersfield game. It's been coming in a few games, really. Players not playing how they were earlier in the season. And yeah, I think it's just, like you said, they're sending off. You'd expect it to change the game. And it did in respect of possession and territory, but in terms of chances, we didn't create anything. I mean, Lee Nichols in goal for Towns not really had to break a sweat. He's had a couple of a shot and a header straight at him and not much else really, which is really, really disappointing. You've got, I think the midfield is a little bit of a problem. I think Max Power's a problem for City at the moment because he's been really good, but he's playing like a man who knows that he's one booking away from a suspension at the moment, and I think that takes a lot out of his game. He's been in that situation for 3 or 4 weeks now. And yeah, you can tell there's something missing from his game, and I don't think that helps us going forward. There's a lot of responsibility for Metcalfe to do, and yeah, just not enough going forward. Obviously, is he a striker? Is he a winger? Graham Alexander's adamant he's a striker. He doesn't really look like a striker to me at the moment. And then Sarcevic and Swan were both out injured on Saturday. We didn't know they were going to be injured before the game. They obviously didn't make the team, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on with them because they haven't been asked. I didn't hear Jamie Rayner ask after the match. Maybe we'll find out on Wednesday at the press conference how long they'll be out for. But we are short of ideas and probably short of personnel up front.
Just going to go to a couple of comments. Yorkshire says Bradford seemed to sit back after Huddersfield scored. And then we'll come on to it now then, Gaz, the transfer window, because James, obviously looking at it from a town perspective, said, why has City let players like Cook go, Gaz? Just money saving. Now, this is something that we've kind of discussed. Obviously, when Cook left, and I know we looked at it from different angles. I mean, first things first, I guess, the simple question, did you look at Saturday's game as a game where Andy Cook actually might have been useful?
Absolutely, especially when they go down to 10 men and you're sitting in the bottom and they're sitting deeper, and obviously they've got to protect what they've got, and it's up to us to impact on that and try and score a goal, and we just didn't look like we're going to do it. We just looked toothless. Absolutely, Andy Cook would have been a good option to have off the bench on Saturday, but we've been saying that, Chris, since I think he was left out of 7 squads before he was sold or before he was loaned out to Grimsby. And in those 7 games, City fans were saying Andy Cook could have come on as a sub and done a job today. So it wasn't a new thing on Saturday that City fans are saying. And the thing is, City fans are going to be saying it for the rest of the season unless we bring someone in up front who can do a similar or a better job. There is a growing frustration around in the City fan base at the moment that we talked about it on previous pods, how it's an opportunity for teams like City and Lincoln because they've got themselves into an advantageous position in that they've got a points buffer over other teams in the playoffs, and they need to take advantage and make the most of it and see where they can push on to. And there's not just a frustration that we don't appear to be doing that, but there's a frustration in the City fan base that on the business that we've done so far, the squad looks weaker than it did at the start of January. We've let Halliday, Patterson, I've written them down. We've let Halliday, Patterson, Cook, McIntyre, Richards, and Neil Byrne leave so far this window. So that's 6 players out. We've brought 3 in. Now, the defensive ones probably aren't that big a deal. None of the defensive players that have gone were playing regularly. They were backup players, and even when we had injuries, they weren't really getting the game time. The only one you could talk about is Halliday. Obviously, he'd played a little bit over Christmas, but with regards to Halliday, he is probably the one of those 6 that has been directly replaced with Harrison Ashby coming in from Newcastle. And Harrison Ashby is probably the one out of the signings that have come in so far that has looked like a decent acquisition. So you can probably say that's fair enough. But we've brought the other 2 players that we've brought in, Lewis Sibley from Oxford, which I was quite excited about, and we brought in Joel White from Newcastle. Now, those 2 players are playing City kind of play a 3-4-3, but the 2 wide attackers sit a little bit deeper behind the striker. And Sibley and White, who've come in, have been playing as those 2 sort of slightly deeper attackers behind Humphreys. And really, we've not, to me, it's the out-and-out striker, i.e. we've let Andy Cook go, and the attacking midfielder, the one who runs from deep, the box-to-box, Patterson, who we've let go, and we've not replaced either of them. I know that neither of them were playing regularly, but both of them were good options to have in a squad. They were both goal scorers, they were both game changers, and they were both people that could have come in and made a difference when we've hit a bit of a sticky run like we always thought that we might do. And the fact that we've not replaced either of them, particularly Andy Cook and his goals, when none of our strikers look really like scoring regularly, is a major, major worry. Graham Alexander came out after the match on Saturday and basically talked about budgets. And yeah, he's got a point regarding budgets. We can't compete with a lot of the budgets at the top end of League One. Obviously, there's a massive disparity in what such as Town can do budget-wise compared to what we can do. But that raises the question, why have you let these players go if you're not going to be able to financially bring in at least equal, or if not better, players to replace them.
Yeah, I think it's excuse me. I think it right now is looking like a fairly fair point because I mean I know at the time when Cook left, I was one of the ones that was like, I can see the logic in this. You know, he's one of the club's higher earners. He hadn't been playing games. He hadn't necessarily what I would class as proved his fitness in since kind of coming back to injury. If you can get rid of him, get the majority of his wages covered, you can look to kind of reinvest. And obviously, we've been talking about like Ethan Wheatley, for example, who was at Northampton Town. Excuse me. Who was at Northampton Town earlier this season on loan from Manchester United. He was recalled by Manchester United. All the rumour mill for the last, fortnight almost now, if not there or thereabouts.
At least, mate. Yeah, at least.
Just saying Ethan Wheatley's going to come to Bradford City on loan. And that still hasn't happened. And whilst I'm not necessarily saying Ethan Wheatley is the answer, he's a bloody option. And that seems to be the problem for City at the moment, is the lack of options. And, you know, there was talk of, albeit optimistic rumours, I think, of talk of actually spending some cash and trying to bring in a striker. You know, the likes of, was Aaron Driner being talked about, Alassane Yatta at Notts County was talked about as obviously a 6'4" striker who's scoring goals in the league below. And so far, it obviously hasn't happened. And kind of couple that with Graham Alexander's comments after the game at the weekend, do we feel like that's kind of him, I don't know, trying to temper the kind of the rumour mill on the transfers front? Is he kind of playing down the fact that players aren't going to come in that fans might expect? Or, I mean, where do you kind of look at it? Because it seems that, as one or two of the comments are saying, you know, Bradford's small squad at this rate might be what cost them. Ben saying the fact you've had your best chance of championship footy in a decade must play into it. If you don't go this season, it could take a fair while. Need to capitalise on the opportunity. It's all fair points, but as City fans kind of wondering, well, actually, maybe that budget that, you know, that money that we thought we'd be freeing up by Cook going and the other 5 going, maybe that hasn't freed up what we were hoping for.
Well, it's either that, Chris, or the players that they want to bring in are out of that budget range. I really, really don't know, but it is a deeply, deeply frustrating time at the moment as a City fan. Just with regards to transfer window, I mean, the Huddersfield fans that are in the comments are absolutely bang on. They're saying what City fans are saying. We've got ourselves into this, but they can see it. City fans can see it. It makes you wonder a little bit why the powers that be at Bradford can't see it. Like I said, the big frustration for me is if you're not going to have the financial capability to replace these players, don't let them go in the first place. You've also got the argument that we've taken a lot of experience, a lot of strong mentality, 3 promotion winners out of that dressing room. So as well as losing options and quality, you're losing a lot of experience and you're losing a lot of, like I say, good character out of the dressing room as well. So that it's just a little bit frustrating. We talked about Ethan Wheatley, like you said, and that's still not been announced. Reading between the lines, I'm only guessing, but I believe it's possibly not been announced because he's still working his way back from injury at Manchester United. He was injured towards the end of his Northampton loan spell, so it could be the case that we're waiting until he's fully fit. But even if Ethan Wheatley was to come in, he scored 3 goals this season for Northampton. He's not an Andy Cook replacement. He's not someone who can get you 10 goals. We need someone who can come in and get us 10 goals between now and the end of the season if we have any serious ambitions of staying around that. Well, even in the playoffs, really. I think it's so tight. I mean, obviously, you talk about top 2, but even in the playoffs, you can just feel it slipping away. That there is some rumours which I don't necessarily subscribe to. Some City fans are winding up the conspiracy theories that now the powers that be have seen, they only ever expected us to finish mid-table, and now we are safe, or they figure us to be safe, that they're withdrawing the funding that Rook put in at the start of the season. That is a massive jump from not replacing players that have gone. I don't know why some people are suggesting that. But those sort of stories and those theories are only going to grow if we don't do some serious business between now and the end of the window. We've just let too much quality go. We're too short of ideas in forward areas, and we need to do something about it if we have any ambition to stay in that top 6 picture. I think we need to bring in a couple of forwards. I think now we probably need to bring in a defender, judging by who's gone. And ideally, with Patterson not having been replaced, we probably need to bring in a midfielder as well. So ideally, you're looking at 4 decent signings in the next week, and judging by what Graham Alexander said afterwards and what's happened so far, I don't feel confident that that's going to happen.
Yeah, let's look at the table. As you say, things are certainly very tight at the moment. However, the problem for Bradford is that the results in the last couple of weeks have meant that they've been caught by others at least, and having sat top 2 for like the season or top 3 for all season, it's now down to 4th because of Bradford, because of Bolton, and their win over Leyton Orient at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously the caveat to this, and I've banged the drum on the podcast before that obviously we are punching above expectation this season. Nobody expected us to be where we are. You've got to remember where we were 20 months ago. But you can't just throw away an opportunity. Do you know what I mean, Chris? It feels like that's what we're doing at the moment. And another caveat is it is the first time that we've lost back-to-back games since March. It's not something that we do very often. Hopefully we can put a stop to that fairly quickly, but it's going to cause concern. Well, we're going to come on to that next, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, I mean, you end the month on the 31st next Saturday with the Yorkshire derby at home to Bradford City. Tomorrow night, though, of course, is a small matter of Lincoln versus Bradford at Sinsel Bank.
Massive game, innit, Chris, for both our teams.
I don't like it.
Well, we were going to go, weren't we? Me and you actually talked about going, but again, I missed out on a ticket due to slipping down the priority, and you're obviously commentating on Rochdale tomorrow, so neither of us are going to be there. I will watch it on Sky. I think you're going to try and multitask while at work, aren't you? Yeah,
whichever bright idea the National League decide to reschedule Rochdale versus Southend for tomorrow night can absolutely go swivel. But I am going to try and keep an eye on it by watching that on my phone whilst co-commentating on Southend Rochdale on Rochdale Southend at the same time. It's just, I just don't like it. Like, there's just no. What a horror! Like, it's massive. Like, it's absolutely huge. Like, I'm just going to quickly try and find the fixtures for tomorrow night, full stop, actually, because I know that obviously, to be fair to for Town, because there's a full fixture list in League One tomorrow night.
Yeah, there is.
If I just bring that league table back up, you've got obviously Bradford travelling to Lincoln. You've got Huddersfield hosting Luton, who themselves are 3 points between them in 6th and 7th. Let's have a look. You've got Bolton at home to Burton. Burton, to be fair, their form of late hasn't been too bad, and hopefully they'll upset Bolton for both of our sakes, regardless of what happens tomorrow night. Stockport are away at Blackpool. Who else is in this mix? Stevenage and Peterborough. I mean, Peterborough come from nowhere, and they are away at Stevenage. So tomorrow night, fixtures-wise, there are so many sides that they've got massive games at the top end of the table. But as you say, none more so, I don't think, than for you and me, mate, with Lincoln versus Bradford.
Yeah, I mean, from a City point of view, I pointed out a couple of weeks ago that we had this run of fixtures coming. We obviously had Cardiff, then we got Huddersfield, now we've got Lincoln. Even after that, we've got Donny and Luton are our next two. Peterborough's the one after that. So we are in that run of sticky games at the moment where we could have always lost these games regardless of what situation the squad was in. Let's be honest, these are teams that are up there anyway in their own right. So there's no guarantee that if we'd have been playing at our maximum, that we'd have been playing how we were earlier in the season, we'd have had these options up front that we would have won these games. There's no logic to say that, but it would have certainly helped. I'm not looking forward to going to Lincoln tomorrow. I think if we play like we did on Saturday, we'll get a bit of a hiding. Lincoln, I believe, you won 8 out of your last 9 at home and drawn the other one. So
yeah,
it's a tough place to go. I watched a little bit of Lincoln against Burton the other night. I thought that Burton were actually quite good, like you say, but Lincoln were the better side and deserved to win the game. But Burton showed what they're all about, and like they have done against City and Town earlier in the season. It's one of those divisions that, like I said, the way I always knew that this period of games was going to be tough regardless. But we need to be doing all we can to put an end to the bad run as soon as we can, because, like I say, after the fixtures don't get much easier, and the bad run could easily stretch on for a while. And if it does, given how tight the division is, we could easily drop down to mid-table or worse. I mean, I remember 2007 at City. The club thought they were safe. They sold Windass and Jermaine Johnson in January and then got relegated. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but it's the kind of thing that you worry about when you see you letting players go and you're not bringing the quality to replace them. But yeah, tomorrow night, absolutely massive.
You are 17 points clear of the bottom four, so fingers crossed. Fingers crossed you don't get dragged into a relegation battle at this stage. I'm just going to say, I mean, it's just a bit of a, as I say, I mean, from a Lincoln perspective, the fact that hypothetically, best case scenario were that Burton was somehow able to do over Bolton at the whatever it's called now, the Tough Sheet Community Stadium.
Yeah, the Tough Sheet, I think. Yeah.
If Lincoln were to be able to pick up the win and be 9 points clear of third, it would be absolute dreamland, to be fair, for Lincoln and Lincoln fans, because this is the thing, as we said weeks ago, both Lincoln and Bradford at the time and 2 points certainly now still for Lincoln are in positions that we didn't expect to be in at the start of the season, but we need to try and capitalise on now. And to be fair, we haven't done a great. We've wrote 1 or 2 in the transfer market. We've also let most of our business has been. I think we've let 2 or 3 loanees go back to the parent clubs that weren't really getting minutes. The one that was getting minutes was Justin Abitquo. He was recalled by Coventry and then sold to Queen's Park Rangers. So then we've brought in Alfie Lloyd, who was on loan at Leyton Orient. They recalled him, I think, because of the Abitquo deal, and have then loaned Alfie Lloyd to us. So we haven't done a great deal in terms of actual transfer business. We just extended contracts left, right, and centre. I think 4 or 5 contracts have been extended in like key players, and then today we've announced that Adam Reaches had his contract extended for an extra year because he's turned out to be a surprisingly good free transfer, to be fair. But yeah, 9 points clear and a point behind Cardiff would be massive.
What do you make of the lad you've signed from Bromley, Chris? Where's he going to fit in?
Oh, I am delighted. Yes, of course. I'm glad you mentioned that. Actually, Deji Elaroué. I am delighted about that one. I think he's a really good signing because he's a good age. I saw him a couple of times. First season when Rochdale were in the National League, they played against Bromley home and away, obviously. And he played in both games, and he was commanding, he was strong, he was good on the ball. And at this point, he'd only have been 19, 20. I think he might even have been on loan from Charlton at that point before he joined Bromley permanently. And he was excellent. So I think that's a really shrewd bit of business to kind of look at somebody that's at a side that's top of League Two, that's only 22 years of age, so much potential. I think it's a brilliant signing. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure where he'll slot in from the off.
That was going to be my next question, where he'll fit in. Yeah.
It's a tricky one because we've been fairly consistent actually with Sonny Bradley.
Sonny Bradley, yeah.
Who's been excellent on the left-hand side. And then you kind of had, Monsmer, Towler, Hamer, who joined the club originally as a right-back, who's become a right-sided centre-half. And then, so it's been kind of Sonny Bradley and Tom Hamer on the right of the 2 centre-halves, Durico at left-back and Adam Reach at left-back. So it's been pretty settled. It's one of those, he might not necessarily get in straight. What I could see actually happening, to be fair, and there has been 1 or 2 rumours of Lewis Monsmer, who, to be fair, has been a good servant but has struggled no end with injuries. He was signed by Michael Appleton, instrumental in the seasons that we were in around the playoffs and the year we got to the playoff final, but then has suffered with injuries since. And there has been talk that obviously Michael Appleton's at Shrewsbury, that Monsmer might end up leaving the club to go and reunite with Appleton down there. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if somebody, certainly one of the centre halves, did move on to kind of free up that space for Elaroué. But as a standalone sign, I think it's excellent. I'm really excited about that one.
he's certainly one that I thought that we might look at. I think I even tweeted it out when I think it initially broke that a League One club had a bid accepted by Bromley. I was kind of hoping it might be us. I mean, we were being linked with Ben Ward from Accrington. I know we've heavily scouted him in the past, and I know we have. Heavily scouted him. Like I say, I know there has been strong interest there from us before, but there was, I think, Wigan had 3 bids rejected for him, and then Accrington was saying they wanted $500,000 for him, and Reading have agreed to pay it. So that kind of brings you back to what Alexander's saying. We haven't got that money to throw around. That's totally understandable. And if they're the fees that people are wanting in January, maybe it is a case that we're clearing the decks a little bit with an eye on the summer and going on a bit of a recruitment drive in the summer. But you don't want to lose that momentum that we've got at the moment. And you don't want to, especially with, like I said, I was talking about before, the top end of the pitch, where we've now lost Sarsvich and Swan. That puts even more pressure on us bringing people in. So, you kind of you can see what Alexander's saying, but you've got to be careful who you're letting go, I think, and when you're doing it. But I agree, mate. I think the lad from Bromley could be a really good signing for you. I went to Bromley away last season. I saw him twice in the game at Valley Parade and at Bromley, and he looked very, very good. Like you say, he was on loan at Bromley first, and then he signed permanently. Probably one of those, like they said, Bromley top of League 2, ready to the step up to the top of League 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on that, on the Ben Ward thing, if Reading have paid if just been like, we'll pay the $500,000, that is huge for Aki Stanley. Obviously, I know you're over Accrington way.
Yeah,
I mean, Christ, that's Andy Holt's played a blinder there, because I know Andy Holt at Accrington. I know we're digressing slightly here, but I know in the last year or two he's really kind of reined the purse strings in quite a bit.
Yeah.
So to be able to get
as well.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, and obviously with the club not being able to use the facilities that they've got there in terms of the bar and everything, which they were using for events and all sorts of. Is it Hyndburn Council have come along and said that they're not allowed to? Yeah, they're not allowed to use Coley's bar for music events after 8 p.m. and all this sort of thing. And it's just like you're just trying to kill the club off with things like that. So $500,000, if they can bring that in through one transfer, is massive for a club at the bottom end of League 2.
It's absolutely massive, because I believe he's out of contract in the summer as well. So to go and get that fee for someone who's going to be, perhaps, well, I think given his age, they probably would have got something for him from a tribunal anyway. But to take $500,000 for him, for someone who's out of contract in the summer, and for a team like Aki Stanley, he's massive. Like you said, they've had a lot of cuts to the potential that they had to make money. Like you said, with the bar, they've had to cut the academy to save costs. But Aki do have a history of finding these players and selling them on. I mean, you look at Colby Bishop, who's gone to Portsmouth. You look at Dion Charles, who went to Bolton, and he's now obviously at Huddersfield. So they have a history, and it looks like they've found another one. He's certainly someone. I mean, I've got a mate who's a Stanley season ticket holder, and he speaks very, very highly of him. I think it's good business for Aki, and it'll remain to be seen how good a business it is for Reading, because they're going to be another team, given how tight that division is in League One at the moment, will be possibly looking to hit the playoffs as the second half of the season comes on.
Yeah, well,
they are 6 points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just going to take the opportunity to bring the table up again, as you mentioned Reading there, and that cluster of sides on 36 points is staggering, to be fair, at this stage of the season, because I mean, this is the thing. Obviously, that win for Town at the weekend puts them 10 points behind second, 14 points off the top. But you look at below Town, and it's only 6 points down to Plymouth Argyle in 14th, who have been obviously very hit and miss over the course of the season. Peterborough, the side for me that obviously had that shocking start to the season, were in the bottom four for a long time. And then since the change of manager and Darren Ferguson's department and Luke Williams coming in, they've absolutely flown in most cases. To be fair, Lincoln gave him taught him a lesson with a 5-2 win at Sinsel Bank just after the New Year. But Peterborough have flown to be up there now, to just outside the playoffs. And you can look at Luton as well. I mean, again, we drew 2-2 there after being 2-0 up the weekend before last. And Luton, you would expect to be kind of knocking in those playoff places. So I think that game tomorrow night, Huddersfield versus Luton at the AQ Stadium, that's going to be a really, really interesting, tough game.
It's like you say. I mean, you've pointed out Peterborough there and the run that they've been on since Luke Williams went in. But you look at Plymouth, Reading, Mansfield. Where have Mansfield come from? These are teams that it's so tight. They're all going to be looking at that top six, thinking they can make it till the end and make it at the end of the season. I mean, you mentioned there Huddersfield, Luton tomorrow night. I think obviously Downs is not with us tonight, but from a Huddersfield perspective, I know we've got a few of them in the comments tonight. They need to carry on where they left off on Saturday. It's going to be no good for them if they don't repeat what they did on Saturday. They've got to build on Saturday's performance now. Luton, like you say, Luton and Plymouth, two teams that were both expected to be up there towards the end of the season. At the start of the season, and Luton and we've got Luton. I think you say fortnight on or a week on Saturday. I think we've got Luton a week on Saturday. Everybody's got to play everyone, and it's so tight. Like I said, from a town perspective, I think they really need to build on that performance on Saturday and see how long they can. They've got the squad there to do it. They probably now feel they've got the manager there to do it. Why not between now and the end of the season?
That is going to be the interesting thing, though, isn't it? Is whether or not, is it going to be that kind of old cliche is after the Lord Mayor's show, when the fact that, yes, they're back at home and they're back behind Liam Manning, but the fact that it's not Bradford City that they're up against now, it's Luton Town, and that derby element obviously isn't there, so we'll see how it goes. Let's bring that down, because if by magic, from behind the League One league table, appears Jayson Boocker. Thanks for joining us, mate. You well?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. How are you guys? All good?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Yeah. Keeping us on the lead score as it's been going on. You're winning 1-0, aren't you?
Mate, we've absolutely battered them as well. Calvert-Lewin hit the post from 6 yards out. We've had other chances. Brendan Aronson's absolutely cooking them. Stacks cooking them. We look like the home side. He's mad, and this is a bold statement to make, but we continue playing like this, we're miles away from being a relegation candidate side. That's just the truth. And anybody that's kind of joining the show that's watching the game right now will agree. And this performance that we're seeing today isn't a flash in the pan. We've been doing this since the beginning of December. One loss away at Newcastle in that period of time. I think that's in that 11 games. Bear in mind, in that time, we've beaten Chelsea, beaten Palace. We've played Liverpool twice and drew with them both times. We've played Man City were at the beginning of that run. We've played Manchester United during that time. You know what I mean? So we look like a real side at the minute. And every week we turn up, and I have this kind of feeling that today will be the day which we look like a bottom 5 side again. And we just don't. We just continue to really surpass my expectations. We've been brilliant.
So what you're saying then is this has got Everton turn around in the second half written all over it, yeah?
Well, we said that. We said that at half-time against Newcastle, didn't we? The difference today has been Everton have barely had a sniff. The sniffs that they have had have been from our own making, a little bit of loops passing around the edge of his own box, and the press has been pretty high from Everton. So actually, it's not been Pascal today. It's been a combination of Rodon and Carl Darlow. But we overall we've completely dominated. I mean, the passages of play have been all us. Outside of the first 5 minutes, they had a couple of shots. They didn't have another shot, I don't think it was, until the 42nd minute, something like that. And we dominated everything in between, plus scored. And like I say, we should. Really, on reflection of the first half, 2 or 3-0 would have been fair.
Yeah, a nice goal, to be fair, but an unlikely goal scorer in James Justin.
Yeah, I mean, the wing-backs have always kind of got involved in attacks for Leeds. I mean, Firpo and Bogle between them, I think, hit 15 last season. There was something in and around that. I think Bogle got 6 and Firpo got 7 or 8, some in and around that kind of figure. And not so much in the Premier League, because obviously it doesn't allow the opportunities in the same way, but it's not a surprise for us really to see fullbacks getting involved in attacks and scoring goals. So, yeah, unusual, but Brendan left it beautifully for him at the back post. And yeah, a good goal. Great goal.
Yeah, Brownie says, great first half. I need to see this game through. Question is, if you're here, why isn't Brownie? That's just laziness, Brownie.
Probably not time for both of us.
I mean, thoughts for the second half then? I guess it's if you're Daniel Parker, it's just, whatever's German for much of the same, please, boys.
Yeah, well, in a weekend in which I've seen West Ham win at home to Sunderland, which I wasn't that surprised to see that, to be honest, and also in a weekend in which Forest beat Brentford away, which I was surprised to see, this would really kind of set our stall out in where we are in the battle. If we can go away to Everton and win this game, Everton have, in my opinion, I think they're exceeding expectations as well this season. I know David Moyes kind of is just going to always keep them up in it. And before a ball was kicked, I was kind of thinking that they would flirt in and around the relegation battle. Most of you guys said that it wouldn't, and you guys were right. I don't think on paper, when you look at their team, it's very good. I just don't. I don't think they're a good team, but he does enough to kind of get them the points on the board. It's a game that's there to be won, especially at the new stadium. They've not started particularly well there. They've actually got more points away from home than they have at home. So it's a good opportunity for us to kind of see this out. And if the first half continues, I think we win 2 or 3. The difference is that likely they'll come out a little bit differently in the second half, and it'll probably be a different game. So we shall see. We shall see.
I think Brownie's used Google Translate for me. Either that or he's just, sharing swear words in German now, but I'm not quite sure. You and Brownie, you'll be on at full time, I'm guessing, with your review show as well at 10:05 for Leeds fans.
We will. We'll be on, and fingers crossed we're celebrating 8 points being the gap again, and we can bring Spurs and Palace into the relegation battle. If we win today, we go level on points with Spurs and Palace on 28 points. Now, given the way that the land is lying, and our form, our trajectory, the way that we're playing, and the way that them two are playing, they're well in the relegation battle if we are. So the table will make interesting reading should the score stay the same.
Especially if Palace. You're on about Palace. Palace go on, Chris.
I was just going to bring exactly this up, guys. Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, especially like what's going on at Palace. They've lost Gay. They look like they're going to lose Mateta as well. Glasner's already said he's going at the end of the season. It looks like a little bit of a basket case there.
Yeah, I mean, they're falling apart at the seams a little bit, aren't they? And all of a sudden, it starts to look like they've not got a lot of talent or goals within that team, and they're getting swept aside on the weekly, aren't they, really? It weren't that long ago. We actually started their run. They'd won 5 out of 7 coming into playing Leeds at Ellen Road, and we tonked them 4-1, and they've not been the same since. Well, they've not won a game since. I think they've then gone 10 without a win or something and around that. And they've sunk pretty quickly. The rest of them that we were kind of hoping we could bring in have kind of just done enough. Bournemouth, they've picked up a few points recently. Fulham have been on a decent run. A couple of the others have pulled the other way. Yeah. So Spurs and Palace. I mean, Spurs, I know that they're looking all right in Europe, but in the Premier League, they can't buy points really, can they, at the minute?
It's really bizarre to see him go from FA Cup winners last year and qualifying for Europe to what seems like a fire sale and the manager leaving at the end of the season at the moment. It's really, really peculiar.
There were clearly a lot of unrest in the summer, weren't there, behind the scenes that we're not really seeing. The Gay transfer on deadline day not going through, and the Glasner fighting with the board. Eze pretty late into the window, no real replacement. And then they've had, obviously, Glasner kind of put his cards on the table quite heavily during January, to which then it looks like Philippe Mateta's just kind of jumped on the bandwagon and we're like, oh, sod this. So there's clearly a lot of unrest behind the scenes. And, sometimes, a lot of people look at the Newcastle side that got relegated, and a lot of people look at the Leeds side that got relegated as well. It doesn't always matter what quality is on the field if the level of unrest behind the scenes is that bad, because training starts dropping into relations between the dressing room, disagreements, unrest. It carries on to the pitch, and all of a sudden you get into a run of results, and other teams believe they can beat you in a way that they didn't before, and it snowballs and it escalates, and before you know it, you're in a dogfight that you didn't expect to do.
It's interesting you say that, because I was thinking today, I saw Mateta being linked with Nottingham Forest, and I was thinking, why would he go to Forest? But then when you actually list it all out like that, it makes you think he might actually rather go to Nottingham Forest and be part of that than what's going on at Palace at the moment.
I mean, Forest are a bit of a basket case themselves, aren't they? But I get your point. Yeah, you'd be out of the chip firing into the fire pan or whatever they're saying, isn't it? That one.
At least behind the scenes of Forest, it seems to all be, seen from a similar hymn sheet at least. We'll let you go anyway, Jay, because the second half has just got underway. Quick reminder for Leeds fans that Jay and Brownie will be on just after 10 o'clock with a full match review of Everton versus Leeds. Cheers, Jay.
Nice one, guys. See you later.
Take care, mate. Well, there we go, guys. Leeds winning, a happy Jay. I'm sure if it stays that way, it'll be a happy Jay and Brownie when it comes to the review show in just under an hour's time. From us, though, I mean, look, neither of us are ones to try to do predictions. So we'll wrap it up anyway, but we'll leave it with may the best team win, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like I said, that'll probably be you, the way the teams are playing at the moment. But we just need to do something to snap out of what's going on and get the fans behind the club again, because it's been a really good 18 months. And I don't want bad feelings to rise up in January because we're not doing the business that we want.
Yeah, I mean, from a Lincoln perspective, Jay, we were in the group chat the other day, and Jay basically said, "Oh, if Lincoln fall away from here, it'll be a failure." I'm like, freaking won't. It's only 6 points with half a season to bloody go. Like, 6 points is nothing, especially this season in League One. If we can get a win over you, and if by some fluke Burton can do me a massive favour and win at Bolton tomorrow, if we go 9 points clear of third, I might allow myself a little tiny bit of dreaming of the Championship, possibly.
When was the last time Lincoln were in the second tier, Chris? I'm going to Google it.
You could tell in my face then, couldn't you? Like,
I was wondering if they ever have been in the second tier.
I'm borderline. Yeah, I remember us being in League One. I think we were in League One for a season in the 90s. I think it was like 96, 97 or something that we were in League One for 1 year. And it's one of those, certainly in my lifetime, we've never been at Championship level or second tier level.
It says here, since their election to the Football League in 1892, Lincoln have spent... Oh, we've lost Chris there, which isn't ideal. So there's only me on the stream at the moment. Oh, no, Chris is back. Don't know what happened there, mate.
I don't know what happened there. I accidentally clicked a button on my mouse and left the studio for no reason.
I was just reading that since your election to the Football League in 1892, Lincoln have spent 36 seasons in the second tier.
All right. Well, I imagine the last of those might have been like 1926 or something. Probably around the same time that Huddersfield actually were winning titles.
It looks like, 1934 you got relegated.
Oh, I wasn't far off. I was only 8 years out. That's worth a point on Popmaster.
Oh, no, I've scrolled further down now. You were actually in the second tier in 1961.
61?
Mm. That was last time in the second tier, Chris. So we're talking 50 years, aren't we, at least?
I was about to say, even you weren't around at that point, mate.
No, not even me, mate. No, that's saying something these days.
Yeah, so as I say, if we can get to 9 points clear, if Burton can beat Bolton, then I might start dreaming a little bit. Thing is with us, it'll be interesting to see if we actually do anything as well in terms of transfer business ourselves, besides obviously Deji Alaroué today or yesterday. Because obviously there's the whole change of ownership and all that. Looks like it's progressing as well in terms of change of chairman, and Ron Fowler taking over from Clive Nates, who's been chairman for the last 8 of the last 10 years, I think, was Clive Nates, something along those lines, and he's going to be the co-chairman. So, yeah, it's certainly interesting times to be a Lincoln fan with everything that's happening off the pitch and what seems to be happening on the pitch at the moment. But, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, regards tomorrow night, like, it's a big game for both clubs given where they are in the league. I mean, I talked about Huddersfield needing to carry on where they left off on Saturday, tomorrow when they play Luton. City need to make sure that they don't carry on where they were on Saturday. City need to make sure that they improve after Saturday, and hopefully they will do. But time remains. We'll find out what will it this time tomorrow. It'll be half time. No, this time tomorrow it'll be nearly finished, won't it? We're nearly done this time tomorrow.
This is the one thing that does concern me slightly, actually, for tomorrow night, is that obviously Bradford are coming into this scorned and hurt and wounded off the game at the weekend, especially. So there's got to be, and you would expect there to be some sort of response and reaction from the Bradford side
There has to be, really. It's just that I don't think we've got the options up front to change it up and make too many changes. So it's going to be relying on the players, as you say, that played on Saturday to feel a bit of hurt and try and do something about it.
Absolutely. We will leave it there then for tonight. Just a short one for me and Gaz this evening. Big thanks to Jay for joining us as well. And a quick reminder for Leeds fans and for Ben, the Huddersfield fan, who inevitably will just want to troll Jay if Leeds throw this away. They'll be on at 10 o'clock with a review of Everton versus Leeds. But from myself and from Gaz, big thank you to everyone who has joined us on the comments over the course of the evening. It's been a busy weekend of action across our region. It'll be another one coming up next weekend as well, I'm sure. Gaz, all the best for tomorrow, mate.
Yeah, same to you, mate. We'll stay friends, whatever, pal.
We will indeed. We'll see what happens. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
We'll see you again soon.